Hey, gun people. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Officer does a traffic stop, and evidently the person in the front is a parolee or been in prison and off parole now, but has told people in the car that he's not going back to jail, and he would rather shoot a cop or get in a shootout before he went back to jail. And in the video you're going to see here, you hear the back seat passenger tell him, "Don't do it. It's not worth it." So the officer tries several things to prevent the shooting. So you don't really see the guy get shot. This isn't really bloody, but you're going to see the shooting from this view right here. You'll see the shots fired in the officer, and we're going to talk about some things about the public and what the officer did, good, bad, or what he could have done different.
Just at the Goodwill place.
Okay. Well, what brings you into this neighborhood?
We were going back home.
Okay.
I was going to get cigarettes, and then.
Okay. Were you stopping you in this neighborhood?
No.
To get cigarettes?
No.
Hands up. Hands up! Hands up! You reach for that gun, I will shoot you in the head. Put your hand on the dash!
Okay. Call that a clue. So the officer was talking calmly, and then it immediately escalated, and he drew his gun and started yelling, "If you reach for that gun." Now, he's not able to get to his phone because it looks like he's reaching the car and either preventing a hand or trying to stop a hand. At this point, the officer could, and I'm not saying he should, but the officer could back away back to his car. And you know, I've been in many of these situations. Sometimes I just disengage and go away. It looks like there's a woman in the front seat and there's a male in the back seat. The male gets out and appears pretty cooperative, which is why I think he stayed. If I had a car with 3 or 4 gangbangers in there and this happened, I would probably just scoot immediately back to my car, disengage, keeping them at gunpoint, and get to a point of safety. You give up ground, but I don't have 3 people unfriendly that I can't keep my eye on all 3 of them. And I've got 1 gun, and I've got to get on the radio, and I've got, there's just too much going on. So this cop decides to stay next to the car and control this guy. And I think part of his process was the guy in the back seat's probably not a threat because he appears to be cooperating, telling the guy not to do it. And the woman's trying to get out of the car. He is still distracted by these other passengers. And that's why sometimes cops need to learn how to just disengage. Like I said, I get in a lot of foot pursuits when I was working as a cop because I always gave the guy the chance to run. I would rather you run than me try to get close, control you before I get cover and back up and end up getting a fight and losing my gun. So if you want to run, take off. I don't care. I got a radio. I was in good shape. I could run and follow you. I didn't care if you ran. I'll just run until you get tired, until the cavalry shows up and fresh officers, and they'll grab you. So I always gave my suspects opportunity to run. I didn't have a problem disengaging my car. If he runs back to his car and takes a position of cover, maybe the guy drives off. Maybe they all 3 pull out guns. Maybe they all talk among them saying, "Hey man, I don't want to do this." Maybe they start scattering and they start running from different directions. There's pros and cons to staying and backing up, but there's a lot that goes into that process, and sometimes experience, how long a cop's been doing it, how many times he's been in these situations will dictate what he does, or maybe, what he should have done. So let's get back to the video.
Put your hands on the dash! Both hands on the dash now! Now! Hands on the dash! 77 Cruise Code 3. Hands on.
Okay, he was able to get out on a radio. He needed cover. I don't know what his code was. I think he said 33 or code 3 or something, but whatever his code was, dispatchers and other officers can tell by the tone in his voice and the quickness and how he's kind of like getting it out in a hurry that shit's hitting a fan and that he's in a volatile situation that's not secure. So the cavalry's coming, which I think kind of takes probably a long time. I don't know if he's out in the county, whatever, but that's another factor on whether or not he should stay at the vehicle and try to control 3 passengers when he knows one of them is armed versus disengaging backing up at gunpoint to his car, getting distance is your friend, getting cover behind the car, keeping them at gunpoint, let them make some decisions, but he's at a greater point of safety and he's got more time to decide because he created distance. So I know a lot of cops don't want to disengage, and I'm up here and I don't like giving up ground either, but sometimes it's a smarter move to get distance, cover, and time.
On the dash. Hands on the dash. Do not move. Do not move. Your hands up too. Your hands up.
You're going to hear this cop really get labored breathing. I can't stress enough. I always talk about it. I got a whole page on my website, thinklikeacop.org, on fight or flight. This cop is in fight or flight. He's got time distortion, auditory exclusion, tunnel vision, tremors, adrenaline pump. He's losing minor muscle movements. He's only got major. Any fine motor skills are deteriorating. His heart rate's going up. His breathing is going up. He's trying to suck oxygen to get oxygen to his large muscles to either fight or to run and flight. So it's critical for people who carry guns or who might be in a life to understand the process of fight or flight, how it's going to happen, deal with it, try to control it, try to stay focused, try to stay in a fight. Don't get overwhelmed by all the physical things that your body does automatically without your control.
On the dash. Do not move. Do not move. You reach for that gun, I will blow your brains out. Can understand me.
Okay, now some people are going to say that this cop is too aggressive. He shouldn't be threatening to blow someone's brains out. He must be saying that because he wants to kill somebody. That's not the case, people. He is trying to convey, don't make me shoot you. I don't want to shoot you. I will, but don't make me. And I've said those statements, and I've done one of my crazy cop stories where I screwed my gun right on a guy's chin when he was fighting with us, trying to get a gun on me and my partner. And, I told him I'd blow his head off if he moved. And my partner was a little shocked and called me crazy, but, things happen. And different officers handle it different ways. I got no problem with the way this officer is trying to convey to this dude, don't force me into something that you're going to regret. You hear the passenger saying, don't do it. Come on, don't do it. Now, at one point, this woman, the passenger, is going to try to get out of the car. And the officer tells her to get back in the car. This is my problem with staying up here trying to control 3 people. Every time he orders one of the other passengers to do something, they're distracting him and they're losing focus on the primary threat, the guy with the gun. And he doesn't know if they're going to pull a gun or if they're friend or foe. So when you're outnumbered, sometimes it's better to cut your losses, give up ground, and get back to your car. He tells her to stay in the car. You know what? From a person, let's say I have someone in my car that does something stupid like this, and I see a cop pull a gun on them and they're fighting, I ain't staying in the car. I don't care if the cop orders me to stay in the car or not. I'm getting out of the car and I'm getting distance. If you want to shoot me in the back, I'll take my chances of getting shot in the back than staying in that car when the gunfight breaks out and getting shot by one of you knuckleheads' bullets. So having her stay in the car, it's instinctive. He does it automatically. He's trying to control the scene. He doesn't want multiple crime scenes. He doesn't want multiple people in multiple areas. I get it, but you know what? From her perspective, I totally get why she wants out of the car. I think it's pretty smart, and I think she should have bailed earlier than she did.
Hands up, I'll shoot your brain. Man, stay in the car. Stay in the car.
So we go from hands up, I'll shoot you, ma'am, stay in the car, hey, in the back seat, quit petting the dog. You see how it's so easily to get distracted from the focus of, you know what, I've got a dude here with a gun. I either need to give him all my attention or I need to create distance, time, and get behind cover. I would have bailed back, I think, at this situation. It's just too uncontrolled. I don't know if I'm in a friendly area. You saw a woman with a dog, or I don't know if it was a woman or a man, with a dog at the beginning walking in the house. So you know this house is occupied. Do they live here? Do they have friends there? Is this a drug house? He was just going to get drugs, and now they know they're about to get busted. Are they going to snipe you in the back? It's just too much to try and control when you're outnumbered like this. I think a better move, and again, I'm not saying a cop was wrong and trying to pick on him, all that crap. I'm just thinking, at this point, I think he'd have been better off getting back to the car, getting time and distance. Then if the guy gets out of the car with a gun, then if he points it at him, it's still all on video, but I'm in a better position to take a shot. I'm in a safer position so I don't get shot. And you know what? I don't think anybody's going to be dogging him for staying up front. Just from a tactical perspective, it's an alternative. It's something else in your toolbox to think about.
Stay in the car. Please, brother. Please, brother. Do not do anything stupid. Do not do anything stupid. Relax. 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 Relax.
Okay, the woman bailed. Smart move. He fired several rounds next to the car. He backed away, said hands up. I'm assuming the suspect still moved. Was he moving because he was shot and he was hurt? Or was he moving to get the gun? To be honest, doesn't matter. You already made me shoot you. If you move again, I'm going to assume you're going for a gun. I'm out here in the open with no cover and you're reaching for a gun. Now, there's going to be some people that's going to say, officer, why didn't you go back to your car? Why did you stay there? Why did you keep shooting? Why? Look, you get tunnel vision. You get focused on that threat. You don't want to give up ground. You want to be first out of the holster, first to get shots off. You want to be the last one standing. All those things are causing this officer to do what he does. His heart rate's going up. You're going to notice a lot of nervous actions with his other hand. He's going to talk on the radio, then he reaches for the back, then he goes forward, he reaches. I don't know if he's adjusting his radio. A lot of that is nervous anxiety because he got that big adrenaline pump. He's in fight or flight, and he's standing still. And fight or flight prepares you to be in a physical confrontation, either running or fighting. And when you don't use all that adrenaline, sometimes different officers do different things. They look around, they try to control everything, they talk. You get dry mouth, you start reaching for things, you move back and forth, you go forward, you go backwards. You do these things unconsciously, trying to burn off some of that adrenaline pump.
Do not reach that gun!
He's still trying to control the woman that ran. He's still trying to control the crime scene. He's taking his eye off the suspect, looking at her. He's got a guy with a gun, and he's still yelling, don't move and don't reach. There's still a guy in the back seat that we don't know if it's a friend or foe or is he armed. Well, a lot of unknowns here. Everybody like, oh, that cop should have done this, and he just wanted, and those cops just want to. Look, people, it's just not that way, but you can believe what you want.
Man, get on the ground! Man, get on the ground! 77, I am okay, roll medics.
Okay, he gets out on the radio, I'm okay. That's kind of like he doesn't want a cop getting killed racing to help him because he knows he's not in serious danger. Obviously, he feels a little bit more in control. His breathing is still labored. He's starting to think. He got more information out on the radio. He's trying to think about other officers responding. In a minute, he's going to start ordering the other guy out of the car. So he's starting to come back and not just be tunnel vision on the guy on shooting and controlling. And again, it takes a while to get your mental faculties back when you're in these situations.
Yes, for now. I've got one down. He still has that fire on his car. Open the door and get out of the car now. Open the door and get out of the car now.
You notice the moving backwards, the forward, the radio. He's got the one-handed stance. He's directing with his hand. He's looking at the woman. A lot of things are going on still with this guy.
Get on your face. On your face. Do not move. Do not move. Man on the ground. Hands out to the side.
So he's still trying to control her about on the ground. He's still trying to control him. Remember I talk about be careful about getting caught up in giving orders that you can't enforce. If this guy goes, no, I ain't getting on the ground, what are you going to do? You going to ignore the guy with the gun and start focusing on me? If the woman says, no, I'm not going to look down, I'm not going to put my hands out, what are you going to do? So try not to set yourself up as an officer by giving orders that you really can't enforce. I mean, he's telling them to do that. He's hoping they comply, and if they comply, it's a bonus. But if they don't, there's not a whole hell of a lot he can do about it.
Do not move. Do not move. Do not move. Sir, face down. Face down, don't look at me.
Okay, so why is he making a guy look face down, don't look at me? A lot of times, crooks, and when you deal with cons and stuff, you'll notice the target glance I talk about. They like to size you up. They like to see when you're not paying attention. When bad guys are looking at you, they're looking for an opportunity normally to escape, to make their move, to find a weakness, to see when the best time it is for them to run, reach for a gun, or do whatever they want to do. So not having them look at you gives you the advantage that if they make a move, they're not going to know if you're looking at them and ready or if you're not looking at them and not ready. So it's just a common thing. It's not in the law. It's not necessarily taught, but working the streets with bad guys, I don't like them looking at me. I don't like them seeing what I'm doing. I like them with their legs crossed, so they got to uncross on the move. There's just different things that you'd learn. I don't like them talking to each other, especially if they're talking in a foreign language, because then I don't understand what they're saying, and I don't know if they're planning and what they're saying and how they're conspiring. So I tell them shut the hell up. If they don't stop talking, then I usually hog tie them or tie them up. In this situation, he really can't go hands-on without taking his eyes off the primary threat. Being a lone officer really limits what you can do. And it usually causes you to be justified and to have to use more force sometimes. Moving back and forth.
Huh? Okay. Was that a real gun? All right.
So he's asking the guy on the ground if the gun that the guy had was real. Why does he care and why is he asking that now? Is that really important? It's really important in an officer who just shot somebody because right now he's having time to think because nothing else is going on and his mind's going 1,000 miles a second. And he's like, shit, I hope that was a real gun, man. If that's a fault gun, I'm going to be screwed. I'm going to be hung out. I'm going to be blasted in the media. He's starting to think legal survival and not just physical survival. So he asks the guy, is that a real gun? The fact that the guy goes, yes, it's a real gun is very, very good information. And is going to be very good evidence later. Because now we know that the guy in the back seat knew it was a real gun. It justifies what the officer did more. And it just makes the case a little bit stronger versus nobody knew, we were all innocent. Because they knew it was a real gun, because they knew he said that he wanted to shoot a cop and take them out, that information can't be used for the use of force because the officer didn't know it at the time. But it makes the officer feel better in his mental survivability of, you know what, am I going to survive this legally? I've survived it physically, and that's just half the fight. Now I have to survive it legally, public opinion, departmental policy, legal requirements. There's a lot of other survival things that still are coming.
Jason, man.
Nervous hand movement.
Jason, put your hands on the dash. I can't.
Lots of looking around. He's still giving orders. The stall time between when a hot incident happens and backup shows up is just seems like forever. Again, you get time distortion and time slows down sometime, but you're working so fast and you're so hyper vigilant, you're so hyper in control and cover your butt and watch around and look behind you and secure the crime scene, and am I okay legally, and was that a real gun, and what's this guy on the ground going to do, and what's that woman, and is there another gun, is this guy still, and all this is happening in milliseconds, and it's like, Jesus, where is everybody at? When can I get these guys secured? So although it seems like it's not a very long time, to this cop, this is an eternity.
Can't come up to you until you cooperate. Put your hands on the dash. Keep your face down, bud. Okay? I can't go up to him until he's got that gun, all right?
You notice he's being pretty friendly to this guy on the ground. He's figured out that this guy's really not a threat. He's kind of cooperating. He's laying down. When he told him to put his head down, he put his head down. So now he's saying, hey, bud, do this, do this. So it's good that he's able to differentiate, I guess, between the bad guy with the gun and not so bad guy who was in the back seat who's kind of being cooperative. Last thing he wants to do is start ordering and treating this guy like a jerk and make another enemy and start ordering her and being like a jerk. So he's doing a lot of things right here, in my opinion.
No, I want you to stay right where you're at.
And there's the sweet sound of the sirens in the background. Damn, that's music to your ears when you're in this situation. Let me tell you, I can't explain the feeling of being almost feeling helpless and kind of like, man, this could go bad really quick. I just need some more guys here real quick to kind of get control of this. And hearing those sirens in the background is sweet music to the ears, let me tell you.
'77, I'm okay. I've got one in the car. Other people in the car are compliant on the face. They advise that he does have a real gun in his pocket. Hey, I'm good. Just come on up here. Passenger's got a gun in his pocket. He's still breathing. If we can walk up and secure him, we can start giving aid.
Okay, so he's still thinking about walking up and giving aid. So he didn't want to shoot him. He doesn't want the guy to die. He wants to give aid. The guy ends up dying, but this officer, a lot of times when new officers are responding, or if you respond to a hot call like this, it's usually better if you kind of come there and kind of do what you need to do. This guy wants to be in charge and he wants to start being involved and kind of directing, but he's not really in the right frame of mind right now. He's kind of still in fight or flight, and he's still kind of hyper-focused, and things that he thinks are important may be right, but they may be wrong. So normally, when cops show up to something like this, you just snatch and grab. Anybody around on the ground, I'm going to snatch him, I'm going to cuff him, and I'm going to search him. I'm going to start trying to secure the scene so we can operate and deal with the suspect in the car. But if I have bodies on the ground, they're getting patted down for weapons and handcuffed and secured so I can help him. The scene is pretty stable. We don't really want to get getting in on this guy and giving him aid and worry about this guy till we get these two other people hooked up and secured. We're still in an unfriendly environment. We don't know what's around us. We don't know who's in the houses. We still don't have the numbers. We should have 2 for every bad guy. So there's 3 people. We ought to have at least 6 officers just to control the people. And then you have to control the crime scene, looky-loos. People are going to start coming out of the houses, which really doesn't bother me if people come out. What bothers me is I don't know if they're friend or foe. I don't know if they're a brother to this guy and now they're going to shoot me in the back. That's the problem I have with people coming out. I mean, it's their home. They want to come out and check or videotape. I don't have a problem with that. I just, in an insecure crime scene area still active, it's hard to relax when you have people unknown around you.
Yeah, walk back to him. Get up and walk back to him and get on the ground right in front of him.
I would have probably said this guy's cooperative, cuff him up. He was in the back seat just to secure him, just so they don't rough this guy up. Sometimes cops, when they get to shooting and the cop had to shoot somebody and we know, we just automatically treat everybody like they're the shooter or they're the bad guy. It's just instinct. I know it's not right. I know people are going to be upset about it. But, you know, if I've got a guy that's cooperative, when the cops show up, I don't want him getting roughed up. I would usually say, he's a friendly, can you just put him in a car? So hopefully the cops will take it a little bit easier on him versus just they're in reaction mode. I'm going to slam everybody, get them all hooked up, and get them in the back of the car because we don't know what's going on. So when we don't know, everybody's a bad guy until we prove otherwise. And I know people aren't going to want to hear that, but it is what it is. Until you put your life on the line out there, you can't say that it's a bad idea. You can, but you'll be wrong.
She was in the car. Secure her. Get in the house.
So now we're yelling at people to get in the house. Remember I talked about giving orders that you really can't enforce? If somebody comes out and stands on their front porch and says, I don't need to get in the house, this is my house, what are you going to do? Now we're gonna leave this crime scene and you want to go get in an argument with them and say, I gave you an order and I'll arrest you for obstruction and you better get in your... I mean, yeah, we tell people to get in the house, but if they don't, there's not a whole lot we can do. Something to think about.
Checking for weapons.
I find that statement funny because any cop that's worth their salt, if they showed up and took somebody in custody after a shooting, if they're going to put them in custody, they're going to check them for weapons. They don't need to be told that. But this officer is in such control mode that he's going to, I mean, normally you just don't tell officers to do things that they know what to do because cops are kind of like, hey, I know my damn job. I don't need you. I don't need another cop telling me what to do. Was it wrong? No. Is it bad? No. I just find it funny because if this wasn't a highly critical and he wasn't just in a shooting, I'd be like, hey, if you want him searched, you search him. If I got him in custody, I'll search him. Worry about your suspect. Don't worry about the one I'm dealing with. And that's the attitude you're going to get from most cops. But because he's in a high-risk situation, most cops are going to be like, he's just trying to be over control. He's not really thinking clearly. They're going to blow it off. Just a tip to the wise. You can take it for what it's worth. Okay, I think he just said cancel the 99. Maybe the 99 is an emergency. This is Kettering Police. I'm not sure where that's at. I just say the title. When he says cancel the 911, again, he's thinking ahead. He's saying, I don't want officers getting hurt. Still responding. We got a couple of officers. The two guys are hooked up now. This needs a little bit of stabilizing. We still have the guy in the car, but I don't need cops driving like bats out of hell, killing somebody, getting to me. So he's starting to come back to reality and thinking. He's also still trying to be a little too much in control. I would have think a supervisor would have been on scene or would be directing or kind of taking control. They're still letting this guy run the scene, and I don't know if that's the greatest thing. It can be good. It can be bad. He looks like he's doing okay. He's not totally out of control screaming. Sometimes it's better to say, dude, we got enough cops here. We'll handle this. Go get a glass of water. Go have a seat in the car. Take some deep breaths. But because cops are into my crime scene, my shooting, they don't want to do that. They have a real hard time disengaging. So sometimes it helps if they're either being told or another cop comes up and kind of like pulls them away and, dude, come with me. Let's just disengage from this. Let these other guys handle it. They got it. Let's get over here. I don't want you making comments. I don't want you getting on video saying something that maybe you shouldn't. Let's just get you and calm you down, make you feel safe to where you're not in this threat, let you start coming down from your fight or flight, have a drink of water, etc. Pretty much over. They go in and get the guy. They try to give him first aid. A couple of quota hires show up and watch.
One in the car, two in the Sure. Okay, you guys cover me? I'm gonna grab that gun out and then we'll get him out and get him help.
A lot of crossfire, a lot of lasering. I know, active self-protection will be like, the officers were not using proper safety, so what lesson did we learn about walking in front of a gun? Yeah. Look, you're out here, it happens. You got to cover, you got guys moving around, you got a car, you're going to laser people. You shouldn't do it all the time. Your fingers ought to be off the trigger. If you can prevent it, great, but it's going to happen. All the safety sallies will be, oh no, you can't, it is horrible, and oh, the crossfire, and oh, yeah, all right, whatever. People who have never been there got all this great advice.
Where the did it go? It was in his right pocket right there. Did he have it in his hands? Hold on. The gun in his hands? We'll go across. Okay. He's still breathing. The gun was in his pocket. Can you unbuckle him? Let's get him out. At least one.
And we got a quota hire here coming in to look and watch with her gun in her holster. No problem. I'll just watch with my... Oh, another one. I got a bag. Let me in here. I'm suing an apartment because I can't do push-ups, but let me in here. I can do this. All right. Hopefully you got some lessons out of this. There's a lot of good things. There's a lot of lessons to be learned. I know I went long, but for cops on the streets, hopefully you picked up something. Experienced cops who have been there and done this will kind of see what I'm saying and get it. Others will say, whatever. All right, we'll end that there.